How's it going, everybody? My name is Ron Sparkman, and I am the Chief Curiosity Correspondent for the Space Foundation's Discovery Center. And today I have an amazing guest for a really great holiday. There's really no more perfect person to have on the show today than the one, the only Will Young, Deep Sky Dude. Welcome and happy National Space Day.
Thank you, man. You too. Happy Achievement in Space Day. So there's a day that we can celebrate all this cool stuff that has gone on. But it's great to be here, man. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. And so what I love about this is very often I get to talk to a lot of people that I collaborate with quite often. And I don't honestly know that I know the answer to the first question that I generally ask everybody. I just don't think we've ever gone that far back. What initially got you interested in space and science, Will?
So, man, it goes back all the way till 9 or 10 years old, right out here in the backyard of where I'm living. Just, random cool winter night. I couldn't pinpoint the day or time or whatever, but just went outside and, probably Orion or one of those kind of flashy constellations just showed up. And I was like, wow, what is going on here? And from then on, it was kind of a progression of obsession, if you will. Back in the mid 90s, we had Comet Shoemaker-Levy 9, which I watched on TV. I knew who David Levy was. I watched that comet hit Jupiter, which was cool. Then in 96, 97, Hyakutake and Hale-Bopp, two comets, naked eye comets, by the way, came both of those years back to back. And my family was, going back and forth to Arizona at the time. Arizona's got nice dark skies. So I was just like, whoa, and then every time I grabbed another little nugget of knowledge, it just, the obsession grew. And, fast forward, I'm 36 now. There's really never been an end to the obsession. And so that's where it kind of comes from. It kind of developed as a kid. And, I learned my constellations with star charts out in the backyard, comparing stuff and, and over the years, just kind of reading Sky and Telescope, Astronomy Magazine, whatever I could get my hands on to go as deep as I could into astronomy. And here we are.
And so obviously you fell in love with it. You've done an amazing job getting your love for astronomy out to others and teaching others. You've been a great source of knowledge for me as I'm learning. So can you tell us how you got into astronomy outreach when you finally figured out, hey, this is something I want to teach, I want to share with the world?
Yeah, I mean, the astronomy outreach part, it was really kind of a mixture of joining the local astronomy club that I'm now the president of. In 2009, I did a random Google search for astronomy in Southeast Texas, fully expecting nothing to come up or some old website or something. And a website did come up, and I was kind of like, wow, cool. Okay, there's some people that either used to meet or do meet. Did a little digging, went to my first meeting there, 5,000th or whatever, and realized that there was a club full of individuals who shared the same goals and passion that I did. And at that time, I really had no idea what outreach was besides just a word, two words that are sandwiched together. And then, as being in that astronomy club, the Astronomical Society of Southeast Texas, as that sort of developed, so did the desire for me to share what I was learning and what I already knew and what I would learn. So really, the instrumental part of that was joining the Astronomical Society of Southeast Texas and getting involved with them, going out with them for their events. And at the time I didn't have a telescope, but I did have a loaner scope from the club that I could bring with and set up and show, whatever through it. And it was just a really welcoming and positive environment, and it just really kind of solidified itself in my brain. And then, in 2000, I think it was 12, I became the president of the club, and I've been president ever since. I don't, that's ridiculous how long it's been. Coming up on, I'm in my 8th or 9th year as president. And when I became president, I kind of switched the focus of the club to a lot more outreach than I think we were doing before, which was a good and bad thing, sort of for club members. They kind of want to go out and do dark sky stuff on their own, but then also kind of do the outreach as well. But outreach, I think, is probably more important in some cases than just like going out and feeding the dark sky addiction or the photon addiction, you know, and because you're showing something to somebody that they've never seen before. And it's an eye-opening experience, no pun intended, but it's an eye-opening experience for them. And it can change their life. I've literally watched it change kids and adults' lives when they see Saturn through a telescope for the first time. So that's one thing that I'm very strongly, an advocate for is outreach. And then, with the ability to live stream on all these platforms now, like you and I do all the time, it's opened up a whole new world for outreach. It's really kind of amazing.
And you discussed the Astronomical Society that you now run, and you have run for quite some time. I believe close to 10 years or a little bit over that. So tell us a little bit about what that is and what you do.
Yeah, it's just a small little group. We're based here in Beaumont, Texas. If you've never heard of it, we're about 100 miles east of Houston. May give you an idea. We were a 501c3, started in 1989. So we just celebrated our 30th anniversary as a nonprofit club here in Texas, which was great. I kind of joined the club, like I said, and kind of, got to know everybody. And then at some point they approached me to become president. And I was like, why me? Really? Okay, cool, I guess. And then it kind of stuck. And now nobody wants to run against me. I'm like, please, somebody wants to run against me. And it hasn't happened yet. So it's becoming more of a dictatorship, I guess, than a democracy. I don't know, but it's a great group. It's like I said, 40 or so families. We do our membership by families, meaning that if you join, then anyone in your immediate family that is also interested in astronomy and interested in getting Astronomical League awards or that kind of thing, it also applies to them, which isn't it isn't true for a lot of clubs. You can pay for yourself and then pay for a co-member at a lower rate. So we're kind of an old-fashioned club in that way, and we like to keep it that way because we're a small group. I think Beaumont and this surrounding area is less than 200 or maybe around 250,000 people. So it's not very big compared to most places. We have a core group of astronomers, or amateur astronomers, I should say, that come in and do astronomy with us. We meet once a month at a planetarium right here in Beaumont, and it's a lot of fun. And we just we try to do as much outreach as we can, but we also, again, we do a lot of in-reach to the club as well with loaner scopes. We're trying to upgrade our inventory to get more telescopage that we can pass out to the members. If you're a member of our club, you can loan a scope out, bring it home, play with it, realize that you need something bigger or smaller or something that tracks the sky and isn't manually pushed around. So it's a fun environment, man. I just feel honored to be not only a part of the club, but to be in a leadership role in that club. And as long as the steering wheel is in my hands, I'm just trying to keep it straight down the road and inspire the next generation of amateur astronomers, really.
And if that's not a wonderful, commercial for astronomical societies, I can't think of one that would be better. And speaking of astronomical societies and amazing things that they do, our local one that works with us, Colorado Springs Astronomical Society, puts on this big event every year called Rocky Mountain Star Stare. And these star parties are an incredible way to go out and connect and see the night sky in different ways with people that are really knowledgeable. And I know that you are a star party aficionado. So for people that have never been to one of those before, can you tell us just a little bit about what that experience is like and why people should invest their time and their money in that?
Yeah, so star parties they will change you in a fundamental way. A star party is when you're talking about on the grand scale, on the national scale of things. A star party is just a week long or so. Some are 4 days, some are 10 days. It just depends on the event, and it depends on how many days you can squeeze into that new moon phase of every month. But it's a gathering of amateur astronomers, and professionals join us out there often as well. So what's cool is You drive all these miles out to the middle of nowhere. You take every piece of gear you ever thought you'd need ever. You will forget something. I promise you. You'll forget that one cable that goes to this thing that if without that, it doesn't, so that'll happen. So I make checklists and stuff to keep that from happening. But basically it's a gathering out in the middle of nowhere, right? We want to get away from light pollution. We want to get away from urban situations. So we go way out to the country, a lot of times in West Texas or Oklahoma. There's star parties in Nebraska, California. They're all over. And essentially, we go out there, we set up our own little telescopes, and you'll see a field of optics, basically. There's a Dobsonian over there. There's a big imaging rig over there. These guys didn't bring a telescope. They brought binoculars just to hang out, and walk around. And light leech is what we call it, where you light leech, you walk over to somebody else's telescope and you say, hey, can I take a look at that? And 9 times out of 10, people are going to be like, absolutely, go have a look. This is Messier 51. It's a galaxy in the, in Ursa Major, whatever, So, and then on top of all that, where at nighttime, you do the nighttime activities like stare at the sky and look at it in your telescopes. But during the day, a lot of these events have talks, like amateur astronomers or professional astronomers talking about astronomy in their situation and applying it to that event. There's mealtime, like at Texas Star Party, where you go twice a day for lunch and dinner, and you can get fellowship with other astronomers in a really nice sort of a Western style dude ranch. This is exactly what the Prude Ranch is, a Prude Ranch dude ranch, basically. It's a great place now out near Fort Davis, Texas. If you're ever in the area, they'll let you ride horses and stuff out there if that's your thing. But some star parties are a little more primitive. You're kind of tent camping. You're kind of, if you're in an RV, you're using generators and stuff like that. And because there's no power really, there's power to your telescopes, but not for powering your RV or anything like that. So each one is a little different. They all have completely different vibes. I go to Okie-Tex, Texas Star Party, and El Dorado Star Party every year. And they're all week-long events. And they bring, Okie-Tex can bring over 800 people. Texas Star Party about 500 or 600 people. El Dorado brings less than 200, so it's much more intimate. So each one has a different feel. And it's just an amazing experience. If you haven't been to one, it's something that is imperative that you go.
Which, and I know that, it's so great to hear somebody talk so highly of them, because there's so few people that have really had the chance to be able to get out there and really experience it yet. And I think it's really important that people do that. It's an incredible experience. If you've not seen the Milky Way, here's the perfect thing for you to do on National Space Day. Where most people are allowed to get in their cars and go for a drive right now. If you can go to a dark area, and a lot of places are empty right now, as they should be. Keep social distance and check out the night sky if you can. It's really one of the most moving things that you'll ever experience. And Will and I both had the fortune to be able to go to McDonald Observatory with some of the darkest skies you'll ever see. And as you wait to look at the telescope, you just can't help but sit up and stare at this amazing night. And Will is somebody that's really doing an incredible job of sharing the night sky with more people through the virtual platforms. And so we're going to start talking a little bit about your platform, Deep Sky Dude, which has a bunch of different facets. So let's go into the big one, the one that everybody knows you for, and especially me, which is your virtual star parties. I'm pretty sure that you hit a high the other night whenever I was watching with you, with nearly 300 people watching at once. Almost 15,000 views in a day. People are really getting into it. This is something that people are connecting with. We're seeing it in the news, that more people are getting into astronomy right now. So tell us a little bit about, how that started and why you think it's connecting with people.
Yeah, so I started Deep Sky Dude in 2016. I've been an astronomer since I was 9. We talked about that, but Deep Sky Dude, the kind of thing, started in 2016. I don't remember why or how. It just did. I wanted a place where I could throw all these little videos that I was creating, not just a random YouTube channel. And now we're here. Started from the bottom, now we're here. I'm not saying I'm at the top at all. Don't get me wrong there. It's just a funny song quote. But it's blossomed into a thing. And you're right, it's crazy. I've never expected to have 250 or more people at one time watching a video from my cell phone on my telescope here in my front yard. You know, I never expected that. I expected 20 or 30 people hanging out, you know, having a good time, chatting. Because like you said, it's a virtual star party. So it's like the big ones. We just kind of get on our devices and there we are. And so I do it on the back of my cell phone, which is this exact phone right here. It's an iPhone 11. I've done it with previous iPhone versions before. You set a telescope up normally, and you put your iPhone where your eyeball would normally go. That's it. After that, there's some adjustments you make with white balance, focus, this and that, and then you go. And that's really all it is. But what's fun is it does bring people from all over the world, New Zealand, UK, I mean, all over. I could sit here and name countries forever, but y'all get the idea. And it's a beautiful thing because it brings people to one spot to talk about astronomy, even if it's just for a little bit. And especially during these crazy times, you know, I think it really is something that, you know, some people really do connect with, like you said. And all I'm trying to do is show the world what I always see, that I'm kind of jaded to, you know, and so I get to see it fresh through their eyes and in your eyes too. You know, like you ask me questions sometimes and I'm like, yeah, man, let me help you out there. And, you know, and you've helped me out a lot as well. You know, it's a sharing thing. And that my viewers, they'll say, hey, do you know about this? I actually didn't hear about that yet. So let's look into that, you know, and things like that. So it's a communal thing. And I think that's maybe why it's connected with so many people. But I appreciate that those people come and hang out and they share the streams. That's very super awesome. But to go to the last part of your question, I think it might be the space, you know, obsession that some new people are starting to get. I think it might be that we're returning to space as a nation, as a people again. We've been going to the ISS and stuff, but there's bigger goals afoot, like going back to the moon and Mars, which you know a lot about. So I think it's that. I mean, you saw this stuff in the 1960s where we were going to the moon. People started buying telescopes and going, and star parties were invented a few years later. So I feel there's a connection there, but maybe, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong. So I guess we'll find out over the next few years what it really was.
And as folks can see behind you, you obviously you've got some instruments back there, man. So music's another one of your things, and you've taken the passion for music and astronomy and you've mixed them together. And so you have a pretty popular music platform you've been working with on Spotify for quite some time, and you are getting ready to release your third album, I believe. I think I saw a preview for it yesterday. So tell us a little bit about the inspiration for your music and where people can check that out.
Yeah, thanks, man. That whole thing, I've been a musician since I was 16, 17, playing guitar. And so, you know, you got to combine your passions, right? And so astronomy was always there in my life, and then music came along, and it's sad that it took me this long to blend it. But if you go back to my old rock band in high school, I blended it way more than I should have back in the days. The lyrics are full of spacey stuff, but yeah, it's been crazy, man. I just started putting out instrumental space music. 2019, I think, was my first album. Deep Sky Dudes, Deep Sky Tunes, Volume 1. And then I put Volume 2 out at the same year. And Volume 3, like you said, is going to come out this summer. I've pushed it. It should have been out by now, but I've been pushing it back because I really want to take the next step with this, not only creatively, but on the musical engineering side, like, you know, mixing and mastering and making sure the mix sounds right in headphones and in speakers and things. So it's really kind of just starting to take off for me. We're kind of on that upward curve. It feels like, at least that's what Spotify's, you know, algorithms are telling me. It's cool. I've been featured in some random playlists on Spotify, which is pretty awesome. I mean, you know, again, I'm just making instrumental music that has a ambient kind of spacey vibe, and I'm a guitarist at heart. That's my home instrument. So a lot of these songs are either going to have guitar melodies in them, or they'll be built specifically on guitar. So it just depends. But I really appreciate everybody that has gone out there and streamed the music or bought the album, or albums, I should say. There will be sneak peeks, more of those kind of coming out on my Deep Sky Dude social medias. So as those songs sort of get ready, and the first single will be released in a few days. I don't want to put it too fine a point on it, but eventually you will see the first single for Volume 3 come out, which is Red Dwarf. It's kind of an interesting, mysterious kind of song. And I'm hoping people dig it, and it's gonna be a fun album. There's gonna be somewhere near 13 tracks, so hopefully it'll be a fun one. And I started making these songs obviously because I'm a musician, but because I needed music for my videos on YouTube. I didn't want to have to use royalty-free music and all that. And I wasn't subscribed to any musical services that, you were allowed to use their music yet. I am now. So you'll hear a mixture in my videos now of other artists' music and my own blended in. But that's the original genesis of it. I needed music. And so I was like, well, I got a synth, I got some software in the computer here. Why don't I just hammer some stuff out? And then I was like, man, I should put these, because I've been making these kind of space songs for years. So kind of all, you kind of blend your passion and your art. And what's cool about you, Ron, is you have a lot of friends who are also artists too, that aren't just musicians, but they're, painters and stuff like this. And so they've taken their passion for space, and they used to paint landscapes and things like this. And now they're painting these incredible pictures like Kat and Jacob and some of these others that I've been introduced to in recent times. And so it's cool. It's great to meet, other space artists and kind of share and blend our abilities together. It's really cool.
I 100% agree. Art is one of those great things. I'm glad that we're seeing so much more of it. It's very important to me. If it would have been for very bright visuals and incredible views of the universe, I wouldn't have been as caught on it as I am. And just to remind everybody, this is a live show. If you've got some questions for Will, we've still got plenty of time left. So if you have any questions for him, please let us know. Drop it in the comments. We'll put them up on the screen. So perfect segue. You were talking about your YouTube. You've got some incredible videos on there, everything from rocket launches to stuff that you've captured in the night sky. So tell us a little bit about your channel, and tell us a little bit about that first video that went viral.
Yeah. So again, I started everything Deep Sky Dude in 2016. And I was making videos long before then, obviously, but I needed a certain place. So I made one, and that was just going to be a YouTube. But you can see now how it's branched out. And, now I'm on TikTok, Instagram, all the fun ones. At some point, I got wind of these NASA socials where you can, if you have a social media platform, you just apply, and they either deny you, waitlist you, or tell you to come on. And the first one I applied to, they were like, come on. And I'm like, what? And so that was the NASA Sophia tour, where I got to tour a 737 jet with a telescope in the back, which is aviation and astronomy, two of my huge passions. So another NASA social they brought me to was a couple of rocket launches, but those videos did extremely well on the platform, mostly on TikTok now, especially the CRS-20 launch, which was a SpaceX's last launch before this next one coming up. That one has 500,000 views now on TikTok, which is absurd. But the biggest video I've ever had on my YouTube channel, since that's the genesis of like the Deep Sky Dude brand, the biggest video I had on there, even to date, I think, was I was out in January of 2019 filming the lunar eclipse. Most people take pictures of it and do a mosaic, or they do a time lapse of the moon through the different phases of the eclipse. My thought was, I have this 4K camera with a telescope, just going to point it and film. And what I'll do is I'll take all that footage and smash it into, just a couple of minutes, so you can see the progression of the shadow going across. I thought that'd be very dynamic and very fun. Posted the video to YouTube. Cool. Was getting views. Everything was great. And then a mutual friend of ours, Sarah Silva, who's a friend of mine from Houston, Texas over here, good amateur astronomer, great photographer. Her and another friend were like, hey, did you catch the explosion on the moon? what are you talking about? What explosion? They're like, check your data. So I was like, yes, ma'am. So I went and immediately looked, because two people I seriously trusted, Becky Remetowski and Sarah Silva, sent me this stuff saying you need to go look. And I saw an article. I was like, oh, wow, that was during totality. What? And I started looking through my data. And the funny part is with my camera, it only record for like 30 minutes straight. I have to stop recording and then start another video. So the camera will shut down at 30 minutes. It's a Sony thing. I don't get it. Or I was having to change batteries or memory cards. So there were multiple parts of the night where I had to stop everything, take a thing out, put a new thing in, reset everything, start again. And so I was extremely worried that I wasn't going to catch this explosion on the moon. And I was right at the end of a 15-minute long clip, right at the end during totality. And I'm like, man, I didn't catch this thing. And then boop, there it was. And I jumped out of my chair right here in this office. I mean, it was like right here. And I was just like, yeah, because I knew that I had caught something that not many people ever get to catch on the moon. I mean, you can film the moon for your entire life and never catch one of these, but to catch it during a lunar eclipse, a total lunar eclipse, was epic beyond anything. So that went up.
Chances were astronomical.
You could say that the chances were out of this world. Yeah, no, but it really was, man. And that was my first taste of like watching the algorithm or watching the analytics just shoot through the roof. Which I was like, wow, it's crazy. And I didn't get nearly as many views as a lot of the other guys that filmed it, but I was the only one that got it in 4K. So that was great. And I got featured in Sky and Telescope on their website, not their magazine, but why we splitting hairs here. That's awesome that I got shared on like this magazine's web page that I've been reading since I was a little guy, and here they are featuring, Deep Sky Dude caught it's like, wow, like, okay, cool. So, and from then on, it's just kind of been, I've just kind of been filming and hoped something else cool would happen, which a couple of things have here and there sprinkled in.
And I think this is the perfect time to dive into it. Whenever I've been fortunate enough to join your lives, or you've done some stuff, working with me in the past, is that people always have these questions. And there's one thing I will mention too. We are going to bring Will on to the Space Foundation social media pages in the near future, and we're going to do some virtual star parties with both he and I co-hosting. And we're going to talk about stuff. We're going to talk about astronomy. We're going to answer your questions live on there too. But this is going to be an important one. People ask us this constantly: is what telescope should I buy? And very rarely is our answer, here's the telescope you should buy, and it's for a very particular reason. And I want people to, if you take nothing else away from this interview, the advice that Will's going to give you is what you need to listen to. So what is your answer whenever people ask you that?
Yeah, so Ron highlighted a great point of it. There's only 9,000 scopes, different styles and types on the amateur astronomy market that anyone can afford. There's only 9,000 of them. So we get that question a lot, which is which one is right for me. I probably don't know you if you're asking me this. So me giving you an advice saying, oh, well, you should go get the Nexstar 1540. No, it's not really going to work because I don't know your skill level. I don't know your level of obsession, or I don't know when you get frustrated, because sometimes guys, just seeing this stuff that's so far away in the night sky can be very frustrating. So what I always recommend, and it's kind of a cheap answer for me, but it allows me to kind of get it out, and then you go to something, because there's always questions flying up. But I always, and I think it's good advice too, though. I always try to tell people, go join a local astronomy group. Google is your best friend. Find those people near you, whether you're in Atlanta, New York, wherever, in the middle of Wyoming. There's probably an astronomy group somewhere nearby you that is going to have equipment already, and they're going to have way more knowledge than you ever could get from any YouTube video, because you're going to be there and you're going to see, and it's going to be specific information you're getting, not just a broad, like, this is how you set up all these different style of telescopes. So what I always encourage people to do is go find those local clubs, because that's what I did in 2009, right? We talked about it. I went and joined this local group, and they were like, hey, you're awesome. Here's our equipment. And I had the club loaner scope, which was just a manual Dobsonian from way back in the day. It was a Coulter, a red tube Coulter Dobsonian. And I had that thing for 9 months. Nobody else wanted it. So I just kept it at my house. I kept bringing it back to the meetings every month. Like, anybody else want it? No? Okay, I'm bringing it home. Well, sure. And I did a lot of my Messier objects with that. Messier objects there's 110 Messier objects in the night sky. They're sort of the brighter, faint stuff that's out there. I know it's kind of weird, but I did over half my Messiers with that 8-inch telescope that the club just let me borrow. And so, you know, I sing the praises of that kind of thing, man. You've got to get involved in a club. You've got to go take advantage of their equipment, because once you're a member, that equipment basically belongs to you too. You're a member of that club. It's club equipment. And they'll show you how to use it. They might even have a class on how to align it if it's a you know, robotic mount, or they might have a class on how to align the mirrors and adjust things, you know, whatever. You need to get that information, and you get that knowledge from them specifically about those scopes, because I could recommend a scope to you. You could buy it and spend over $1,000 on this thing, get it outside, and never be able to find anything because you don't know the minutia yet. It'll come, but it won't come if you buy this thing, get extremely frustrated, put it in the closet, and never touch it again. So what I always suggest is that people go out and join an astronomy club, meet the members, become friends with these people. And I guarantee you, they're probably some of the coolest people you'll ever meet. 99% of the time, that's true. And it will empower you, it will educate you, and it is crucial to your astronomical development and your journey, as long as you join a good club and just ask as many questions as you can.
And so people say that people do this. They go out, they buy a telescope, they've learned, you know, a ton, and they feel confident in getting into outreach, possibly doing what you're doing with social media. They've seen this, and you know, they kind of want to follow in your footsteps. What's your next piece of advice for those that might want to do what you do?
Yeah, so the first thing I would suggest to anybody is do what Ron and I did. We, at some critical point, we decided this is what we're going to do, whether it's a career or a side thing. This is what I want to do. I want it branded. I want it so when people look at the feed, they know who it is and know why. And I would just get out there and start. You don't have to know everything about the night sky or the moon or whatever you're live streaming to live stream or to outreach. Go set up your telescope once this COVID thing is over, at a local mall or a parking lot or the Walmart or a Starbucks. You know, get permission if that sort of thing is available, but go do it. Especially if you know the moon fairly well. And if you don't worry about it. There's apps that will show you what crater is which. So if you're out there, you know, you're going to use these reference guides for yourself. Just learn with the people who are around you. That's all it takes. You don't have to go out there and act like you know all of it or know all of it. You don't have to do any of that. Just show people something they've never seen before. And most people, way too many people on planet Earth, have never seen the moon or Jupiter or Saturn through an actual telescope with their own eye. Most people haven't. And when you show them that, it is life-changing. Those photons go into your brain directly, and they burn a hole in your brain that says now that hole needs to be fed with more astronomy. Sometimes people will walk up to your scope and they'll look in and they'll go, cool, thanks. And they'll walk right off, and you'll never hear or see them again. But some people, and all it takes is that one. That's why we're out there, is that one kid or adult or whoever it is that walks up to your scope and they look at you like, you know, what? You know, and then you get to be like that bearer of information, like, dude, the moon that you just saw there, that's like 238,000 miles away. Light, the fastest thing in the universe, takes 1.5 seconds to bounce off the moon and hit your eye through my telescope. And if you give them little nuggets that you can memorize, for one, and just memorize it, say it in your head over and over again. Light takes 1.5 seconds to get from the moon to here. When you give somebody that piece of knowledge, sometimes they'll never forget it, and it'll impact their life and change them. And so my advice to them is get out and do it. You know, get your cell phone, get one of those Celestron XYZ mounts, and mount your phone to your telescope. You'll be surprised at what you can get, even if all you get is a semi-blurry picture for your Facebook page. You just shared astronomy, and you shared your view with hundreds or thousands of other people. That is important, and that's why Ron and I do what we do, as collaborators and as outreach enthusiasts, we're just trying to get the information that we have to y'all in a positive and fun and enlightening way. And that's really all it is. So start, that's my advice, is go out there and do it. And let me know, and maybe I'll share your feed, because maybe it's cloudy where I'm at, but you have perfectly clear skies. Hit me up, and I'll let my audience, because my audience is just a bunch of people, I'll direct them over to you so they can watch your funness, as long as it's chill and family friendly ish.
And that's a perfect way to wrap it up, man. Tell people where they can find you, your website, your social media, and do you think you're going to be doing any live streams or anything this weekend? I know you've done a couple this week.
Yeah, I'm going to be doing some more lunar lives coming up. The moon is in prime position right now, so if you have a telescope and you're not outside with it, get out there, y'all. But I will be, if it's cloudy, I will be doing some live streams coming up this weekend of the moon. I am going to try to image that asteroid tonight, 1998 OR2. So we'll see what happens with that. My backyard was a little mushy last night. My telescope would have literally sank into the mud if I would have done that. But yeah, you can find me at Deep Sky Dude, which is down right here, at all the platforms. That's YouTube, Instagram, TikTok. TikTok's my fun one now. I get to play and experiment over there. But YouTube is a little more serious and kind of hardline, where I upload, more, congruent videos, I guess, stuff that makes a little more sense. TikTok I'm just having fun with, and it's a good platform. But you can find me at Deep Sky Dude out there, and I would love to have all of y'all come and hang out on one of my lives. I know Ron comes and hangs out too. We do lives on Ron stuff as well at Stardom Space on Instagram. We go live randomly. We're just like, hey, here we are for 1 hour, because that's all that Instagram lets us do. And so it's a lot of fun. I encourage y'all to come hang out and be a part, because we'd love to have you. I know, like I said, Ron and I are passionate about space and getting this stuff out there. We're like Neil deGrasse Tyson, where we're like, have you seen this? Like shaking people. Have you seen this? And, I remember when Neil said that, I was like, I take you seriously, Neil deGrasse Tyson. So I'm going to start being like, look at Saturn in my telescope, so that's what it is. And there's no better way to force it upon people than having it show up in their Facebook feed, because they're scrolling through and they're like, oh, look, the moon. Wait, what? So it's a little something out of the norm for people. And it's been a really fun thing. And Ron, thank you so much for your help that you've helped. You're always there in the chat, hanging out and answering questions and making stuff fun. We were cracking jokes. We're drinking coffee. It's fun stuff. I encourage y'all to come. And I appreciate all of those that have already come over and followed and stuff. Thank y'all so much. I appreciate that. But find me on Spotify, iTunes, all the major music stores as well. There's a new album coming out soon. I can't wait to put it out, y'all. I'm so proud. I'm so proud of this record because it's music that I wanted to hear, and I've sort of, structured the songs like that, and I'm hoping that they connect with y'all as well, because I'm super happy with it so far, and I can't wait for y'all to hear it. It's gonna be exciting.
Well, Will, thank you so much for coming on today. It was awesome. There's tons of knowledge here. If you want to get into astronomy, this is a guy to follow. Go check out his stuff. Thank you, man. So glad you got to come on today.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me, man. Keep doing what you do, man. You're rocking it. You're killing it. I love it. I love Space Foundation and Stardom and all the stuff you're doing, man. Explore Mars. It's great stuff. So keep up the good fight, sir. Stay the course. And I'm just excited to be a part of all of this. So, man, thank you so much for having me.
And we appreciate you, man. And that's going to conclude this episode of the live edition of Space Foundation's Space4U podcast. Keep your eyes and ears open for more Space4U episodes by checking out our social media outlets on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and LinkedIn. And of course, make sure to visit our discoverspace.org website for more digital content for teachers, parents, and students. Don't forget, you can also support the Space Foundation, a 501c3 nonprofit, by visiting www.spacefoundation.org/donate. And on all of those outlets and more, it's our goal to inspire, educate, connect, and advocate for the space community. Because of the Space Foundation, we will always have space for you. Thank you so much for watching.